We are recording.
All right. Hello.
We're recording. Okay. So just wanted to introduce what we're doing. Sewtopia and Friends, episode 1 with Keli Faw of Drygood Designs. It's the first episode, and I'm Amy Newbold, owner of Sewtopia, and this is Megan Callahan of I don't know how that's going to work. Is that going to be visible?
Brady Bunch? No.
Yeah, Brady Bunch. Megan Callahan. She is my Andy Richter to my Conan O'Brien. So, yep. I don't claim to be Conan O'Brien.
But you have the hair.
I would be the Asian version of Conan O'Brien.
Definitely.
Korea. Anyways, so I had this crazy cockamamie idea of starting a chat show to check in with friends, especially in this in the sewing industry, both designers, shops, and hopefully give everyone staying at home a little background and entertainment on the people that are around the country that we know. So yeah. So Keli is the owner of Drygood Designs, a Seattle-based fabric store and sewing studio with beautiful curated fabrics, just like the ones behind you. And I was trying to remember, Keli, how long we've known each other and where we met.
I think we knew each other on Twitter back when I used Twitter. That was probably 2011 or 2012. And then we met, I think, in person at the Kansas City market, in 2000, would that have been 2012? Yeah.
Wow.
So,
That's what Amy was thinking. She thought it was
a long time. Yeah, and then Megan, I can't remember when we met. Was it the Pacific Northwest Modern Quilt Guild thing?
It was the Portland Sewdown for the MQG. Yep.
Oh wow, that was 2014.
Yeah.
I have a thing for dates, so.
I know. I was trying to remember. I was like, I must have met Keli at a market in person, but I felt like we've known each other.
You've been giving me witty banter for at least 9 years now. So, because I remember I didn't know your real name. I was just like, it's Suki 80. I literally thought your name was Suki for years now.
Yes, everybody just knows me as Suki. Okay, so I think we've known each other for a long time. So one of the questions is, tell us about your background and your family.
Okay. Professional background?
Sure.
I mean, my background. So Drygoods Design has been since 2011 officially as a fabric store. But I also used to do marketing communications for a large global tech company that's based near Seattle that doesn't own Zoom. Microsoft, but and then also before that did corporate communications at another large retailer and whatnot. But yeah, so I'm from Oregon originally, but have now lived in Seattle. Sorry, I just watched a guy check himself out in our window. It's really distracting. There's still enough people to people watch here. But yeah, I've lived in Seattle now for 17 years, and I have a husband and 2 children who are 8 and 11. And I have to say, I'm so thankful they're the ages they are right now, because I don't know how I would handle a pre-K or a kindergartner at home. So for everyone that is handling those ages, more power to you, because at least mine can work on a computer slightly independently. But yeah, but no, Drygoods, definitely is the highlight of my background, just for the fact of meeting people like you guys and our customers. And I think that's what makes it so hard right now, is that I created a business that required people to meet and congregate and drive community. And that's really a huge challenge right now, because we are gathering this way, which is great in a lot of ways, but also really hard too for staff and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So
before we move on, you should actually.
Okay. So we asked was one of the questions we asked our guests is what is their quarantine drink of choice. And Kelly's drink of choice is a Manhattan, which I've never had. I'm very lightweight. I don't drink that much. So I quickly ran to the liquor store in Utah.
You're amazing.
And
Liquor store in Utah.
Yes, liquor store in Utah, because we don't sell liquor in the grocery stores. They have to.
Neither do we, really.
Oregon doesn't either. So
yeah.
So I quickly got, this is kind of MacGyver-ish, but here's my cup. Starbucks. Here's my
God. See, I didn't have ice. That's the thing. So I wish I did, because I usually have it on the rocks.
Okay, tell us your cocktail of choice.
Oh my gosh, I want to see your face when you take a sip.
Okay.
Oh, so I mean, I do, if you want to nerd out about fabric and cocktails, I'm really good at both. But I really like a Manhattan on the rocks, not necessarily neat, just so it takes a little while because it is pretty boozy. But yeah, and I like it with bourbon versus rye. So which bourbon did you get, Amy? Evan Williams.
Yep. Okay. So
it's been rated the best. It's been rated the best bourbon for the price point. Yeah. So you should put like, maybe you just do like 1.5 shots.
Okay.
Maybe one.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
She needs to get through the rest of the interview, but we'll see how red her cheeks get.
I know when Sewtopia was in Seattle, she had like a little bit of champagne. And I was like, oh no.
Oh, I know. Okay. And then how much vermouth? This is the one I got.
And then I would just do Dolan. That is one of the best sweet vermouths or vermouths in that category. I would do, how about you do one? I usually do a half, but this is just Amy-fied.
Okay, done. Okay.
Because I don't believe that Suki, the 80 and Suki 80 stands for proof, right?
No. I'm guessing it's birth year.
Are you swirling it with your?
Yeah. I mix it a little bit.
That's what I do. I love it.
And so normally you would put bitters in there as well.
Yeah, so mine has blood orange bitters. My children were slightly horrified when they watched me mix a cocktail at like 7:30 this morning before we left the house. But I told them, I was like, for later. So it's in the thermos. But I put it on the coldest shelf of our shop. Shop. But yeah, and then that one has an Amareno cherry in it, which is key.
Yeah. So cheers.
All right, cheers. Megan, nothing?
Coffee.
Coffee?
It is too early for me. Unfortunately, a cocktail for me means nappy time on the couch. So I know I was talking to my husband last night about drinking, and I said, a crazy night for me is the second glass of wine. He goes, no, a crazy night for you is the first glass of wine. So it's kind of how it goes.
This is pretty good.
Are your girls now? Oh, you like it? Good. The ice will totally make it, and the extra vermouth kind of cuts the booze. Because how old are the girls, Megan? They just turned 11. They had a quarantine birthday. Aw. Okay, yeah, because they are the same age as my oldest. And how old's Pepper?
She is 10.
Gosh, okay. Yeah, see, we're the lucky ones.
Definitely. So I have a question about the amaretto cherry. Did you make it yourself?
Oh, the Amareno cherry? No, we just actually these were gifted to me, but you can buy them at not in Utah maybe, but and my kids love those because it's not Amaretto, it's Amareno. They are not boozy. Amareno. So they're not boozy. So they love to sneak those a little too much. So
those are good cherries though. I've had drinks with those in there and they're really good.
Yeah. Versus maraschinos, which are the hot dog of the fruit world. But
totally.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Red dye number 40. Delicious.
This is really good actually.
Okay, take it easy though.
Yeah. Slow sips. Maybe one per question.
Okay, one per question. Okay, so with the current stay-at-home order and high demand for sewing good and textiles, how are you operating your business currently?
So we closed, it was basically, it's been just me since March 16th, and starting like 2 days before that, I started doing deliveries in Seattle. And then there's only been 2 days since March 16th I haven't done deliveries.
Wow.
I tried to switch it to 3 days a week, and that's what, if anyone's listening, it's only 3 days a week, but really I do it almost every day just to break it up. But yeah, so we've been closed, and then so shipping and doing deliveries in town. And then I've been wanting to, because we offer classes almost every day of the week. So I sent out an email to almost 300 people regarding who was registered between, what was that, March 16th and the end of May, because I don't think we'll be back to standard order. I'm hoping by June, so our summer camps can still go on. But yeah, so it's been kind of interesting. It's amazing how many people want to make masks and everything, but elastic is the new toilet paper. And I've had to really kind of shift how we have mask supplies on the site. So like, for instance, like we got access to free elastic. And so that's dedicated to people making masks for hospital workers, because I'm not charging for it, but I only give it out in 10-yard increments. And if anybody orders more than that, they don't get more than that until now, this next week. And maybe you're getting it in too, Amy, but like I'm getting a bunch of elastic finally in.
Right.
But yeah, it's been crazy, like RJR solids all day. Like if I can later, maybe I'll show you that sad shelf, because everything is actually here. I can show you guys some of it if I can. Sorry, I sound like I'm a let switch the camera angle, but maybe I can't.
I know, I don't know how to flip it on Zoom either.
On Zoom, yeah, Zoom.
Yeah.
What about that technology? But yeah, so it's been, I feel super thankful that we do sell things that people need right now. But it's it's been 12 to 15-hour days most days, because if I do get home, I've been sending emails and corresponding with people. But I'm really thankful for autoresponders right now. I have like a full FAQ in our emails, but people have been super understanding, and I'm really hoping that if things kind of get measured in a balance, that we can start doing more online learning. So we're going to probably start offering like virtual private lessons for people. I think what's hard is like if they don't have a machine at home. I've been trying to figure out how we do kind of an equipment rental, but if we're going to be back to being able to have 1 or 2 people in the studio, and by the end of May, maybe we don't do that. We'll see. But it's I miss my staff a lot. Like I had 7 people. So it's like I play like Brooklyn Nine-Nine or the Mindy Project, just so it sounds like somebody's in the space. My kids are here most days till 3 doing school, and then my husband comes and picks them up. And so that's usually nice, even though you don't get that much done. It's just nice to have somebody here,
right?
Since it's pretty dead down in my neighborhood. So
yeah.
How about you? Are you just?
Well, same. Like we're mostly online, so like we're just kind of like but it's insane. Like the elastic, you're right. It's just kind of like that's the new toilet paper. Like we got in 3/8 elastic because I was noticing. It's funny because I like check prices and I'm like, oh, okay, elastic's pretty reasonable, and then you'll do an order with wholesale, and all of a sudden you see elastic on Etsy and it's like $2 to $3 a yard.
And they're charging like $50 for shipping. That's what a couple of my customers said, that they thought they got a good deal, and then it was going to be $50 to ship something. And the price gouging. My husband, though, when I said elastic is the new toilet paper, he took that from a use versus a demand perspective, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, dude, no.
Yeah, so it's very interesting to see. So we obviously, we charge like I think we charge 45 cents a yard, but it's 3/8 elastic. And you know how like certain people are like, well, I have to have 1/8 or I have to have 1/4, da 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 da. We're like, well, you guys can cut it in half, you know, but I'm not price gouging you, and I'm definitely not going to try to source a 1/4 inch elastic or 1/8 or whatever, because
I mean, I reordered that. Yeah, I reordered that a month ago, a bunch, and everyone was like, we're 4 weeks out. I mean, I reordered it before we had a stay in place order. But yeah, we are getting 1/8 inch, and I think it just shipped. And so, yeah, because I get it. What's hard is if you aren't like making your own pattern, a lot of people don't, like, you know, they're trying to make so many that they don't think about like, oh, I could change the size of the casing, but that takes time. You know, and also too, like fabric ties are awesome for it. I do know it takes more time, but yeah, when you need like 24 yards of twill tape, it's like 100-yard roll really can only serve 4 people.
Right.
And so I think that's the other thing. It's like, we did mask kits in the very beginning, and I had somebody buy like 10 all at once. And I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry, but like, are you really going to make 200 masks? Like, can we make sure other people get to share in that too? And again, people have been really great, but it is weird to be like, spend less money.
I know.
Do this.
Simmer down.
So, like the elastic is just so, it's like we got what we could, and then yes, we do have on order. Yes, I think it's been 10 to 12 hour work days. Doing orders, because all of a sudden now it's like textiles are the need, because hey, we need to make masks, you know. Also,
I was gonna say, when you hear Ari Shapiro on NPR talk about quilters cotton, I don't know what that is, but that's what the CDC recommends. It's kind of this insane, like, I mean, I know you primarily carry quilting cotton. Quilting cotton has not sold that well for us for years. You know, we do a lot of garment fabrics, and now, like, literally, I think there's only 2 RJR solids that haven't been touched, you know, out of, you know, I think we carry about 85 of them. And so it's just crazy. But it's interesting, like you probably have it too, like we put up there what's quilting and midweight, and people are like, but is it 180 by 180 count? And I was like, if it's not, it's darn close. Like, you know, it's, but yeah, what were you gonna say?
I have not gotten those questions, but you're right. Like, you know, like it's interesting to me that I'm like noticing like the trending. Like, I still think there's people that are like, hey, I'm stuck at home, I need to play with my hobby, right? And then there's people like, okay, I'm stuck at home, I need to make masks. And so I've noticed like an increase like in solids, like boom.
Yep,
you know?
totally. Well, that really transitioned after the announcement of individuals needing masks, not just healthcare workers. So yeah, what were you gonna say, Megan?
Well, I was telling Amy about an article yesterday that a friend put on her Facebook, where it was talking about that the CDC is recommending that everybody use reusable like fabric masks, but they're not saying, where do you get them? Who makes them for you? You know, they don't like, they're recommending them, but then it's kind of falling on all the people who sew and quilt or do something with a sewing machine, that they're the ones who need to do it now. And then it's like businesses that have been closed, like fabric shops, now they're becoming essential, because people who are maybe just hobbyists are like, oh, hey, I need fabric, I need this. And it's just really interesting, because you think of like World War II in England, where they're like make, do, and mend and all this stuff, and it's now this whole other movement that we have.
Oh, for sure. And what I've been telling people, masks themselves are an excellent scrap project. You know, it's like they take like an 8x12, you know, 2 8x12 squares. That's really all you need. And so I think, you know, and there's tons of patterns out there. We've been recommending the one from State the Label, but you know, I finally made ones for my kids and my husband. And then I was like, oh, I would totally change these 7 things about it. The Fancy Tiger girls have one that's more like of the pleating kind with fabric ties. Has been really good. And I think it's the Craft Passion one that a lot of people really like, because they can do kid sizes.
This one. Yeah.
So I think the other thing is, though, is, you know, I have so many people go, why aren't you making masks? And like, we weren't manufacturers, you know. And I think what I find really hard, because I talked to, I was like, oh, this would be way away for my staff to give hours. But like, the thing is, it's like, how do we charge what we should charge? When it's a mask, I feel like it's an essential item. So that's why I'm like, if you have a friend who sews, or you're a friend, like, we're going to give you like a good deal. We have very fair pricing on fabric. We're not, to your point, Amy, like, we're not price gouging. But you guys need to go do that work, because we don't have the time or the wherewithal, to get it done. We were supposed to get in this Tyvek interfacing in, and of course the supplier's like, oh, well, it's not here, but we said it was in stock. But the non-woven interfacings are another thing that's like super hard to find, because that's one of their recommendations too, at least for the hospital worker ones. But yeah, I think you're right, Megan. It is odd, because it's like, you should have this thing, but there's no opportunity to be like, oh, and here are the people that can make them, or this is how you do it. And so I think that's just what's been challenging, because I would love to make masks, but I mean, one of my friends was like, hey, you know what, you make them, I'll promote them. And I'm like, I'm not a manufacturer. Like, I don't have time. I want to make sure the people who do have time to sew are getting the fabrics they need and the supplies they need.
Exactly. It's not even just the time, it's the bandwidth, it's the emotional, it's like the emotional mood to sew even. It's a lot of, there's guilt associated with it. I think like some people feel guilty for not making them, or they feel guilty because it's just a lot of pressure, I think. And just people need to understand, like, I think as fabric purveyors, you support people no matter what, whether they're making or not making. And that's just all you can do at this point. And it took me a long time to get to that point, because it's overwhelming. You look at all the different patterns online, and people are saying, well, this doesn't work, or this works, or don't do this and do that, and why are you doing this? And I'm like, don't at me right now.
Oh yeah there's and I think it's all coming from a good place, right? But yeah, I've noticed an increasing ratio between realistically like responsible questions and like, to never shame any customers, because I know, again, it's coming, people are getting crazy. And a lot of the calls we're getting like aren't even from our customer base. It's a guy going, hey, why don't you have any sewing classes? Like, a lot of people want to learn how to sew right now, right? I'm like, we can't congregate. And he was like, well, like, but what about a private lesson? And I'm like, no, like, no one's been in the space. And what machine should I buy on Amazon? Because I want to start sewing masks. And I'm like, well, we sew machines. And it's like those kind of things that where it's tough, because I'm like, I want to help you, but at the same time, it's like, I thank God for electric scissors, but like, I can only cut so much per day and then drive for 4 hours delivering it. So, but yeah, I think we're all trying to figure out what our role is in this. And I like your point about like, you feel guilt, or like you just can't do it. And so it's crazy. Like, we got in one of this, I don't know if you guys saw it, but that Japanese linen with the poppies, like it's insane. It's pretty expensive. It sold out in 45 minutes. And I had 2 bolts, and I was like, I felt kind of bad, because I felt that guilt. Like, this doesn't relate to mask making, but it's super pretty. And like, we've been waiting on it for 6 months. And then I have 2 more bolts coming in hopefully tomorrow, and people are like, are you going to pre-order? And I don't do pre-orders from an equity standpoint. Like, I guess they are going to feel that freneticism if they think it's going to get sold out, but I don't want people to be like, I have to buy it before I see it, kind of thing. But online, that's all you do, right? But anyway, it was that moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I feel kind of bad. But then I'm like, you know what? Everyone's going to see this fabric and be like, this is the most beautiful thing, and I can stare at that and have a moment of peace. Like, so be it. But yeah, I did notice a huge shift for the first 2 or 3 weeks was definitely like people wanting to either make masks for hospital workers, or just have like a nice time making their own garments, to where now it's really shifted to where you can see like the patterns of it being like, I'm going to make a bunch of masks for my friends and like the grocery store workers. And I just think it's amazing. And I'm hoping that, you know, it works out that everyone can have a mask that needs one. Because like in LA, I don't know if where you guys are at, they've done it, but like in LA, it's now a law that you have to wear a mask when you go out.
Yeah, I live north of LA now. And for us, I'm staying home. My husband has to work because he's essential. But so my kids and I are staying home, and he is our designated person going out. So if we need groceries, anything, it is just him. And now the grocery stores won't even let you in unless you have a mask. So I've been making masks mostly for like my friends and family to send out. And then I hope I don't have to make any more masks, but you know, that's wishful thinking. But it's also just, for his office and essential workers who kind of need them. A friend of mine's a nurse. And so it's just making as many as I can for friends and family, but I'm hoping like they'll only need one mask because ideally they're staying home. And that's like the kids and I are going to have masks, but we only need one. It's only really for emergencies because we're staying home. But
yeah, exactly. That's my husband's been. So it's funny because it's like I'm out throughout the whole city, but I'm in my car or I'm in the shop or I'm at home. My husband's like, I haven't been to a grocery store in a month. Like he's the one that goes. And my big thing is like, cause I kind of had that whole sense, cause I know Amy, you're doing shipping, but like for deliveries, I was like, is this okay? But I was like, if I'm keeping more people at home, so they aren't going to the big box retailer that somehow is still open with all their staff.
Right.
You know, and I'm better than DoorDash or Amazon, cause then the fact is like, it's just me touching the fabric. Occasionally, like my husband will drop something off for me, like if it's like in this random part of town, but it's all contactless. But yeah, I totally like wrestled with it. I was like, is this the right thing to be doing? And then I was like, you know what? This is bringing levity to people. This is now very important, because we were collecting masks as well. I still do, for people that like want to get it to the hospitals. Because my neighbor who's a nurse, she puts it into central distribution for them. But yeah, it's like, you know, and then I kind of wrestle even with shipping, because I'm like, am I putting more postal workers at risk through this? But at the same time, I'm like, now with us, as you said, being in demand and needed, it's important. But I do, like, I literally shelter in place. I just happen to do it at my business and at my house.
That's what Amy's doing too.
Yeah.
That's the same. So I'm the only one that's going out, even grocery shopping, you know what I mean?
Really? Okay. Yeah.
So, well, my son still, it's crazy because there's like, I feel like Utah hasn't had its hit yet. And people are still kind of like taking it in a relaxed kind of manner, you know what I mean? So I feel like there's some people that are still like, yeah, we're still going. Like an example is like by the shop, there's a new gun range that opened a couple weeks ago, and the parking lot was full. Grand opening, the parking lot was full. I need to shoot my guns, you know. And I'm not anti-gun. I'm just you know, I'm just like, how our numbers keep climbing, and at some point they're going to be out of control, and you're going to be like, why are our numbers climbing?
Yeah.
Well, exactly. And I think what's crazy is because, you know, California, New York, Washington, like they were definitely the first state. And what's crazy is like, I live in the original hotbed, but we're starting to see that like our numbers finally, like the curve might be flattening, but it's nuts. Like I still like, so I drive all around the city. And it's shocking, like how many people are still out. Like in downtown, it is definitely a ghost town, but you go anywhere else and there's too many people out. It's like, if you know, they've been saying now, like if you're biking, you should be 60 feet away from each other. If you're running 20 feet, and then like walking, even, it's not the 6 feet apart. And like, I'm sorry, I know the 3-4 old guys that are 65 biking together are not roommates. Like they're in this cluster, and yeah, like, and there's so many people out. Like there's parts of town, like I can't even drive down the street without stopping like 5 times for people walking. And so the problem is like, we're finally having really good weather, which, cause Megan, you used to live in Oregon, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, that like we get this like Northwest amnesia. Like we immediately forget how horrible the weather was, and we immediately forget how good it was. And I just think it's better when it rains because people will stay home. And yeah, we might be out of the thick of it, but like they already saw like another like plummet, not down but up, you know, another rise because of a few weeks ago when the weather was so nice. A bunch of people are out, so they closed a bunch of the parks over this past weekend, but this is technically our spring break now. So yeah, it's
the
it's
Pacific
kind of,
Northwesterners cannot resist a sunny day.
no, you can't.
And I get it for sure. But it was nice last week. We actually had rain here, which is really unusual.
Yeah,
And
my friend was afraid of flash floods down in Orange County.
Yeah. And so, but it was nice in the sense because it just gave that one more excuse to stay home. Not that it's too hard. I mean, for me, I'm lucky that I can go out and do stuff. So
yeah, but I think it is hard for all the people that don't have outdoor spaces, like, you know, and look at New York with all their density. Like I can't even imagine.
No.
So, but it is one of those things, like it totally shows like how our ethos as a society though is like we don't want to be told what to do. And the countries that do have more of that like draconian authoritative measures though, like they're doing a little bit better in terms of how fast. But yeah, like I was listening to the NPR because when I do my deliveries, I listen, that's when I catch up on the news, and they were interviewing all the reporters in the world. And it was just kind of crazy. Like Paris is like, you're not allowed outside right now unless you have a like note of what your intent is and how long you'll be gone. And I was like, can you imagine that even happening here? Yeah.
Are you listening to KUOW?
Yeah, it's usually, I mean, yeah.
I miss that station. That was one of my favorites when I was up in Washington.
Yeah. They do a pretty good job. Yeah, they do a pretty good job. But I mean, I could listen to other, you know, stations and then just like have high blood pressure all day. So
yeah. So Keli, now that we've talked about all the serious stuff, we should go to the fluff portion of the interview or discussion.
We should like reverse it and like trick them into thinking that it's fluffy and then get serious.
I know, and then get serious.
You notice I'm getting better?
Are you getting redder?
I might be too, though. I turn red now. Like, I don't know.
Me too. I turned very red. I think sometimes redder than Amy.
Oh, really?
So what is something that's new in the shop?
New in the shop?
Something new.
Something new. Oh, my goodness. Well, those poppies were brand new for now, but they're all gone. Do you guys want to see the fabric of it though?
Yes.
That I was yeah. Let me grab it.
I am getting redder.
Well, and then I don't know if you guys saw the spam fabric that we had.
I did see that.
Yes.
Oh, that is really
totally
pretty.
Want the spam fabric. Do you have any more of that?
Oh my gosh, no, we sold out. And my kids, that's what their masks are out of. That's what they asked for. So it's really cute. They're running around with like spam masks.
Yes.
Mine is glow in the dark space kitties for my kids.
Ooh, see, that's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. Yeah, no, the kids I feel like can rock the fun stuff. My husband was like, I want a black one. And I was like, that's not creepy at all.
Right?
But yeah, so the poppies are new, and then we're getting in. Yeah, it's like this most beautiful fabric.
That's super pretty.
And I think it was in 2017 or 2018. I can't remember. Like, you know, when you do the top 9 for Instagram, it was up there twice.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. I was like, okay, it's something. There is definitely something about it. But yeah, and then we do. So have either of you ever been to Sew Expo?
No.
So it's the largest consumer sewing show in the country, and it happens in the grand old town of Puyallup, Washington. It's so funny. That's where our state fair is, and I've lived here. Actually, if anyone's listening from Washington, I'm gonna get like total grief for this, but I've never gone to this.
You've never done the Puyallup?
I've never done the Puyallup. As maybe
I've done the Puyallup.
Yeah, like my son has, because like when there was a teacher strike a couple years ago, my mom took him while she was helping me, but because they get a free ticket. And but anyway, so 3 years ago, like, so they had asked us to do it for a while, and then we finally decided to give it a try. And they're like, I was like, well, where is it? And they're like, it's at the fairgrounds. And I'm like, and those are where? Sheepishly. But anyway, so we do that now every the end of February, beginning of March, and it's kind of crazy. I bring in like basically a miniature version of the shop, like
Oh yeah, I
so
saw
that,
your pictures on Insta, and I
yeah.
thought,
So
"Ooh."
like, so I go on 2 to 3 different buy trips for it to just so like it's kind of fun and exciting, and then the fabric comes back. But the problem is that like So Expo was the last weekend of February, beginning of March. And it like takes like 4 years off your life because it's like just really intense 14, 15-hour days, not unlike coronavirus. And what was crazy is that the first death happened in Washington, like in the United States, in Washington on February 29th. And it was so crazy because at the show, no one was even talking about it. It was like we were in this bubble. And then we got back, and then like the world, you know, to quote Hamilton, turned upside down. But so we still have a bunch of fabrics that I have yet to put up on the site, because like the photography of it. And it's funny, like I'll put things like, oh, should I put this up on the site? And people are like, yeah. So you'll see like we'll have like one random garment fabric up a week. Or somebody would be like, did you still have any more of that velvet? Did you have this? And so I'm trying to get those up. So we do actually have a ton of new stuff that no one's really seen, like this amazing bamboo cotton stretch fleece that's awesome for sweatshirts, which I think, so I made this Wixton Howry out of the Merchant and Mills jacquard that I just called a wearable security blanket. Which I think we all need right now. And one of my customers called it cozy armor. And I was like, that is so cute. So yeah, because the jacquard we just got back in again, but there's a bunch of stuff that I do need to put in that's like really beautiful linens and garment fabric that comes from France and Italy.
That sounds exciting.
It's crazy because we are now, like, as business owners, like we are the only one. From beginning to end. We are the shipping, we are the invoicing, we are the emailing. Before, when we started, we were that way, you know. And then then we're like, okay, you get big enough, and you're like, okay, I can afford workers. Let's get some workers in. And it's now it's just kind of like, boom, it's back to square one.
Well, and I think
have like all this business.
Oh, totally. And I think if you talk to, like, talk to various people, and it's kind of weird. It's like everyone's back at square one because we have to be. And I think I feel super fortunate that I know, like I've always said, like I've never asked any employee to do anything I haven't already done before. Right. Like I was somewhere and the guy didn't know how to use his credit card machine. And I was like, what? Like, he's like, sorry, like I don't do this. And I'm like, well, thank goodness. Like, and it's so interesting. I don't know if you noticed this, Amy, like I'm already like, okay, these are like the 4 new documentations I have to have. Like I've actually totally switched my shipping platform and like streamlined things because I'm like, why am I taping so much stuff? You know? I think it's a very interesting time. And like, I did do this all on my own for a long time. But damn it, I miss my team. And like, I think I just, it's one of those things though, I did, pay them through the end of the month and do sick payouts and all that stuff, but I did have to temporarily lay them off. We have a great thing in Washington where you can do standby so that if we start doing classes and there's opportunity for hours, I can give them a certain number of hours without interrupting their unemployment benefits. And they don't have to look for another job while they get unemployment. But still, like, I'm fortunate that, like, my husband still has his job.
Yep.
And because, Drygoods is not like anybody considering opening a fabric shop, don't.
Let me
like, I know it looks good right now, but it's not.
Let me go back to that little comment. Okay, so Keli a while back. This is a while back, okay? This is way back, okay? So Sewtopia started out as purely events, and it was freaking fun, and it was my side hustle. And then I like got fired from my job, and that's probably a very harsh way to say it, but it's true.
Yeah, I don't think you got fired, but whatever.
But so then it was like go whole hog into Sewtopia, right? And that's what my husband, let's do that. And then I remember having a vivid memory calling Keli. Keli, I think I'm gonna open fabric side of the business. She's like, do you hate weekends? Like I remember her saying, do you hate your weekends? Do you hate having time off? And I was like,
because you better love working,
right?
And it's like, and I look at and the one of the reasons why I asked you to be the first guest is like, I look at you and your shop, and that's what I aspire to be. Like, I aspire to have my own shop. I aspire to create that community. I aspire to have so when I see you go on your trips, your buying trips and your weekends, and you're buying fabric that we all love, and you have like an eye for those things. I was like, she can't. I'm like, yes, I will miss my weekends, but you're also an inspiration as far as like becoming your own entrepreneur, your own business owner. You know what I mean?
Yes, and thank you. It's funny though. I don't think either of my kids will ever want to own their own business.
No.
Or at least not one that's tied to being there, right? Like, and it's funny because, I have friends that have their own companies, but they work 8 to 5 because it's a service base, not like it doesn't require somebody to be there. But yeah, like there's moments where I think like, man, I'd have a heck of a lot more time and, possibly, a more regular revenue stream. But then I think about the relationships and just all the people that have shifted my life. Like what's crazy is the reason why I posted those poppies, like I was supposed to be in Japan right now visiting Hoko, Koka, Kobayashi. Like we were going to see all those factories and do all that stuff, and I'm hopeful that will definitely happen in the future. But yeah, like this path has totally allotted me people that like, and I think that's why we're all here. And that's why I think like in some weird way, this time I hope will show people how critical relationships are to them, and the fact that you need people to serve goods. And, Amazon definitely, like, what's crazy is like Amazon and Costco are totally fine. Like in these weird ways that the big businesses are just getting bigger. And the smaller companies, like, we have a local restaurateur that's like 50% of the restaurants in this town, and we're a big food town, probably won't come back. And, Utah and like Salt Lake and like, in anywhere you are, like we really pivot on like going out to dinner and those kind of things. And so, yeah, no, like, and that's where, I don't know what the other side of this looks like. But I hope that people see like, wait, like people are important and small businesses are important because that's who's driving the unemployment rate right now. It's like Amazon, I guess, got to hire 100,000 workers, but like, are those people just being put at risk in order to fulfill those needs? I don't know, but no, like I think of like when you guys were here for Sewtopia, Amy, oh my God. So listeners, if you haven't met Amy in person, you are totally missing out. And you need to also meet Megan so she can show you her braiding techniques because they're the best. Nobody looks better coiffed at market than Megan. I will just say that. But, it's funny. It's like, I think if you did have a storefront, like I would love to see it. And I would love to come visit and watch you interact with your customers, because the way your banter and rapport with those Sewtopia ladies, who are incredible, by the way, like
they're a special group of ladies.
They really are. They were wonderful. And it was horrible because I was still, and that's the thing in all of this. So not everyone knows this, but I contracted dengue fever from my trip to India, and I'm still not okay. Like I'm immune compromised or whatever from that. And so like, I was still like not okay when you guys came for Sewtopia, and I was like, I don't know how to handle this. Like, it's just like, cause what it did is just like, I'm a lot weaker and whatnot. But, and then to listen to you say things to them and they're just like, ha 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 ha, ha. Like, I think at one point, because Megan, you weren't there to witness this, but I was like, the views expressed by this individual do not represent Drygoods.
Oh,
my staff was like, what was that? What is going on? And I was like, she's
I know.
amazing.
You have to imagine like demure Keli, and then like
no one has called me demure. I really appreciate that.
Like, and I'm like behind the cashier, like with her, helping her bag, and she's just like, "Oh my gosh, you need to calm down." And I was like, "These are my people."
It was those 4 sips of prosecco too, I think.
Yeah, these are my people. They know. They know.
I've told Amy a lot that she gets away with a lot. Like the average person would not be able to behave in that manner.
I think I even addressed one of your good clients. I can't remember the old guy that came in, and you were like, "Stop, he's a good client."
Oh, who was that? I can't remember who came in, but yeah, he was a customer for a long time. But I blocked it out.
Like,
no, but it was so fun. Oh no, but it was so funny because there were people that were just like coming in to buy cards on their lunch break, and they were like, "What is happening?" But I think, like, honestly, like out of like the 70 some odd people, there was only one person that was kind of like agitated. But yeah, you handled it amazingly. But I was just like, you're like, they know me, and I was like, but they don't know Drygoods. Like, chill out. Like, it's cool. And then like she was like, you don't have exact change. Why don't you? Like, stop, we have change.
Oh my gosh.
I said to a customer, I was like, wait, you don't have exact change? You're holding up the whole line. And she was like, let me get my exact change. And then Kelly's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're like guilting her and not having exact change.
Oh my gosh.
Amy.
I'm surprised you didn't kick her out. This is normally I would what's the word? Yank the leash a little bit if I was there, but I had to hold
manage
at the hotel. Yeah.
Oh no, it was Amber. Amber was doing it. Amber Carrillo was like, it was hilarious. But no, I loved it. It was just funny because I was like, Amy, never make it hard for people to give you money. Like, just
I know.
do not. I think that was probably one of the other things in the conversation. Like, don't make it hard for people to give you money. Like, because that's my thing as a consumer. Like, if somebody makes it hard, I'm like, never again. Which is funny because speaking of cash, like a week before we ended up closing, like we stopped taking cash because I was like, no one should be counting the till. Like, this is
exactly
like I was like, this is so weird because I did opposite of what I normally do, but we put up a sign and we're just like, for your safety and ours, like, we're not touching that stuff. And then I was somewhere and they were like, oh, we only take cash. And I was like, even now?
Gross.
Oh, right?
It's a lot easier to sanitize a debit card.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Totally,
okay.
Yeah.
So
I have a question though.
Yeah.
So I feel like each shop has their own signature candy. Obviously, Sewtopia's is Haichu, but why have you selected Pixy Stix as your
Oh my gosh.
candy?
That's what I wanted to like.
Oh, really?
That were the same too.
So that came about. So like when I first started, so Drygoods so it will be in May next month. Sorry, my phone. I stopped answering the phone like a week ago because it's just a dude asking which sewing machine on Amazon he should buy right now. But I chose it. So my whole thing was like, yes, I'm going to have to probably ship in USPS packaging, but I want it to be in like Amy, and I know because I used to ship things to you, like I want it to arrive so that it felt like something they could unwrap, but the fabric was all protected. So like our packaging really hasn't changed from an online perspective in 9 years. But I picked Pixy Stix because I usually try and coordinate them to the fabric and it wouldn't damage it in shipping. So like, and it slides in like when you tie it with a string, which we hand dye, by the way. I know, it's like, it was weird. It's like one of those things, I started doing that when we moved into the space because it was like the one creative thing I got to do while I was building everything out. And then that's another thing, like my staff took that over because it's kind of fun. And now I'm like, oh my God, I don't have time to like dye string. Like, so I have like a roll at home that I like wrap up when I get home and then bring it back. But yeah, so, and the Pixy Stix like slides into the package. And if it does break or something, it won't damage the fabric. And so, do you know we've been like publicly shamed on Instagram if we forget them though?
Do you remember the lady that like she was like didn't get a Pixy Stick at the shop hop?
Yeah.
I was like, you really want to pick? Here, have your Pixy Stick. You're just like,
I know. Well, and it's funny because, you know, we also have customers that like, I'll never forget this one time, my staff, one of my employees told me, like, they were wrapping everything up and they're like, she's not here. You don't have to do that. And I was like, oh my God, yes, they do. But like, we have a lot of people that reject the Pixy Stix. But yeah, so I ran out recently because I like buy 2 pounds at a time.
yes.
And during this time, like if I know somebody has like 2 kids at home, I'll put in 2. If I know they have 4 kids at home, I'll put in 4. And it's weird. Like, so back in the day, like you know, when I was online only, I got more emails about Pixy Stix than anything else. Like, oh my God, like it's weird how like, sure, like the High Chew does the same thing. Like, it's just this little extra thing that like, it's like the same as like we sign by hand on every packing slip or card versus like typing it out, you know? And, but yeah, during this time though, I've gotten a lot of like Instagram messages, like, you know, my 16-year-old was losing her GD mind. And then like the Pixy Stick, like totally transitioned her out of it. And so I always wanted to do this from the store perspective, is to have the really big ones. And I finally tracked more of those down. And so now in the deliveries, like I'm going to put those in.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah.
If that's not an incentive, I don't
I
know
know,
what
right?
is.
Well, it's funny because like there was one customer message, and if they're going to Australia, I have a customer that I just like pour literally
Oh my
like
God, that's so
half
cute.
a bag of High Chews in there. And when she opens it, she's like, oh my, because they can't get High Chews in Australia, right?
What? They can't? Oh,
No.
whoa.
But
You think that would be easier there.
Right? You would think it would be easier there.
So, and then it was like, you know, the customers always said, like, I know I can't get to my fabric. Like, I won't get to that, but I definitely get to my High Chews. Like,
Oh, funny.
you know what I mean?
That's so funny. Well, yeah, like when I'm, especially at like So Expo or where like, cause we'll still do it there, or when I don't want to say, do you want candy? I just go, would you like some sugar strength? And it's weird. People are like, yes, I would. It's like, but you know, it's one of those things where, or I call it when they're parents and they have kids in the store. I'm like, would you like some leverage for later? And they're like, yes. Because yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, I don't know. I think it's just, but yeah, I was like, you can't ship chocolate. Like that's going to melt. And yeah. So I like it.
You can only do it in like the winter months.
Yeah. I've tried caramel.
And that's just, I'm not going to change it up.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
What in the store? Okay. What are you currently, well, we'll say, what are you currently sewing or knitting?
So I haven't done either in a long time. So what was kind of crazy is like my post dengue life, my Q4 was like really kind of crazy. We had some weird things happen that I kind of took time off from knitting, which knitting has always been like my little space where I definitely released, but I did just sew some masks. I did sew a ton of samples for Sew Expo, which was kind of nice. Like, just to live vicariously through what we have in the store. What I still, and I truly believe I need to make during this quarantine time is the Merchant and Mills Thelma boiler suit, like a coverall situation.
Nice.
And I don't even think I'd wear it outside. I just want to garden with my like EVA Birks and like that. But also I have a sweatshirt that I just need to finish that's in one of our like French terries, but yeah. Jeez. Oh, sorry, a penguin just hit the window.
Oh my God.
A pigeon. Sorry. A pigeon just hit. No, sorry. I was just reading. Sorry, I just was emailing with a customer about a penguin welcome little card. I just saw a bird that started with a P. Literally just hit one of my windows.
Oh my God.
See, that is the comedy you were looking for, Amy. That woman doesn't know her birds. But then, like, you know, it's kind of crazy. I don't know if you feel like this, Amy, but like, I literally just want to sew right now because I'm cutting all this fabric and like I'm helping people figure out what they want to make and what colors, and it's crazy. Literally make like having these about what I'm gonna do my time if I ever get it. And it's like totally like my kids actually were like, if you could do anything for a year and not have to work, what would you do? And I'd be like, well, I mean, clearly I'd hang out with you guys, like, because they didn't say like, do you have kids or not? And then I was like, I'd sew, I'd like work out and knit, read, and like go hang out with people. Like, it's just one of those things, like I'm itching to sew, but like have no time. But I think the first thing has to be that Thelma suit. So I can just like, actually it would be great to have it work because it'd just be like, you just throw one thing on and you have a bunch of pockets. And there you go. So it looks like you cared.
Yeah, like a Dave Chappelle kind of look.
Yeah, like without like white powder on my face or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay. What is your go-to comfort food?
Well, it's kind of funny because I do love vermicelli bowls. There's a place near the shop that's still open and they do it as like a salad bowl too. But I mean, shoot, like carbs. Right now, like I literally have the same meals every day because I don't have time to cook. My husband is cooking a little bit more, and I did cook on Easter, but like the turkey bacon sandwich at Starbucks with an almond milk flat white is my breakfast, and then one of two restaurants down here in Pioneer Square. But yeah, I would say, I mean, bread's awesome, but I do really love, like, the thing is about Vietnamese food is like the minute I think of it, like that's all I want. And there's a couple places that we love that aren't open right now. So that's a bummer. But Mr. Saigon down the way is go-to. And my kids love banh mi, so it works out.
Oh, yum. I
Yeah,
love
it
Vietnamese
has a
food.
great Asian fusion, like great Asian community. Like I was impressed. I was very impressed. So when we were there.
Yeah.
But it's not food that I can readily get here. And I'm sad.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. We've had quite a bit of Thai food too during this time because my husband is still like working a bunch on calls and stuff, and like neither of us feel like cooking. So we're like, we're just supporting the local restaurants that are like eating stuff. And then my husband just got like 25 pounds of artisanal flour with a friend because they got 50 pounds. And I was like, this is not going to be good. Like,
and that's delicious. A follow-up question for you. Have you made bread yet?
No. So I did that like 10 or 11 years ago after having my first child, and I didn't go back to work for a few months. So I already like did the bread and pizza dough thing, which I totally support and think people should definitely do. I just haven't been like, I was telling Amy, like Easter, I like made a purpose of like not checking my work email and staying home. And I did bake a cake, but yeah, no, I haven't, but my husband has totally made bread and I support that wholeheartedly.
So like my husband, he has made bread as well.
And cookies.
He's been baking a lot. Yeah.
Man, mine needs to step it up a little bit.
Okay.
This is like whatever essential
What non-essential service are you going to run to when the stay-at-home order is lifted?
That's a good question. I haven't really, well, I did cut my own hair.
Yeah. So
well, I saw you like, yeah, and you've got more hair. I still want to take off a couple more inches, but I wanted to wait till after this call to do it in case it like went horribly bad. Because like my friend was like, if I get really desperate, I'm going to do this technique. And I was like, what's the technique? And she's like, you do a pineapple like on your head, turn over and then trim. And so I just did what she told me. And she was like, wait, you didn't go on YouTube? And I was like, no, I just like remembered what you said. And it worked out. Because my hair is like super thin in comparison to how it is due to the dengue fever hair loss. So I was like, this is the time where I could go shorter because it won't be like a mushroom cloud of thickness.
Trapezoid of hair.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, my kids are also commenting about how gray my hair is. And I was doing like balayage style, like to make it look like it wasn't quite gray.
Uh-huh.
I think I might run to get it dyed, or I'm going to be doing that in my shower here in a second. Yeah, manicure maybe, because all that fabric is
Eyebrows for us.
Eyebrows, yeah.
Yeah, because I was really lucky. I actually had a hair appointment the day that the stay at home order went into place. Like it went into place that evening, and I was already self quarantining at home, but I was like, I'm gonna keep my hair appointment otherwise, because the grays were significant, and so that was the last time I left the house.
Oh my gosh, you're so fortunate. Yeah, I think like the last month or year, however long it's been, has really like push the grays into overdrive. One of my children literally said to me, Mom, I feel so bad for you. And I was like, what? And they're like, here. Like, oh my God.
Thanks, kid.
I was like, wow, if I ever need a self-esteem boost, just come on over.
Kids are great for that. Kids are great for that.
Well, my daughter, it was so funny because I did put on some makeup before I left the house, and she's like, why are you doing that, Mom? You don't need it. And I was like, oh, you're so sweet. And I was like, but I do. Like, I'm not crying as much anymore. Like that first week was really ruthless. Like, so I like could wear mascara today without worrying about it. But yeah, I think Amy, we were texting. I was like, it's just small business Hunger Games right now. And I'm going to be Prue, not Katniss, if I'm not careful, so.
I know. It totally is.
So eyebrows, you both have, I'm like leaning in, I'm like, you both have solid eyebrows. I don't know.
Well, mine
kind of hairy.
Mine are hairy, but I also talk about an eyebrow pencil. So like, thank goodness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Without that, it's a little rough. All right. So we have another question. We're going to skip a couple because we've kind of talked about it, but what is the fabric that got away, or the one that you wish you had a truckload of?
Ooh, I love all my fabric equally.
I love all my babies.
Well, it's funny because people really don't believe me when I say my fabric stash is it's maybe a little taller. I realized early on that you need to sell it, not keep it.
It's interesting because I had a huge fabric stash.
Mm-hmm.
I have pared down so much. And when I pared down, I was showing Megan, she was like, oh my gosh. Is that all that's left? And I was like, yes.
It's a different mentality, I think, when you're selling fabric.
When you deal with it every day, it's totally, it's not a.
Yeah. Well, and also too, like, I feel really guilty. Like, it's funny. I have friends who own fabric stores, and I'm like, you got that? And they're like, yeah, like, cause they will, make something and that will sell it. But I feel like I always take the things that like, kind of like, I think are amazing, but I don't understand why they haven't sold. And then the minute I do that, then they sell, and then I can't get any more. But it's funny, the poppies, for instance, like I will never take any of that just because other people, like, they truly like love it even more than I do. But it's weird. I do have a fabric that I adored. It was the first time Moda did any wovens, and their wovens for a long time never did that well because they were really different than what Moda would offer. And so I used to get them like on discount but they had this one and it was like crazy. I had to buy 6 yards of it from some random person in Ohio whose emails I still get, even though I've unsubscribed. So, they're using like sew websites or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. I finally made something from it. Like, I had bought it and used it. Like, I used to do more custom sewing for people. And so I had made a couple of things for this one customer. And then I ended up making something with it in the fall. And I was like, oh my God, I've had this for 5 years and I finally made something for it. But yeah, I don't like, yeah, again, it's just like, if I really, really love something, I'll grab it. And as long as I know I can get more but yeah, I grab a few more fabrics now when I travel, but then I'm like, oh my gosh, if I make something with this, then somebody's gonna ask where I got it. And I
Oh
can't
gosh,
do
yeah.
it.
It's a whole nother element.
So yeah, so like literally in India, I found like these really amazing fabrics that were like only in like 3-meter cuts. And I was like, I literally bought ones that look similar to things we have. So if I make something, I can be like, it's kind of like this. So yeah.
If you ever get in that spam fabric, I totally want like at least to have.
Oh, I'll see if they have more. I mean, you can also get it. Duh.
I know, but nah.
She wants
It's
a
so weird.
Pixy Stix.
I literally bought it to make a friend's husband an apron. And I was like, nobody's gonna buy this. And then they contacted me. Well, no, but you know what I mean? Like, because it was out of control. And it's amazing, but it was so funny. They contacted me and they're like, do you want us to ship? And I had canceled like all future orders, you know, just with everything going on. And then I was like, you know what? Now is the time for spam. Because like, yeah, and it was
It's so hot right now.
Dude,
I've never tried spam, by the way. I've never tried it.
Oh my gosh, spam musabi.
Yes!
Musabi. Like, oh my gosh. I have good friends that make the most delicious spam musabi, and like they actually just had like a picture of some they made, and I'm like, oh. But yeah, my dad was obsessed with spam growing up, and I thought it was horrible. And then now I'm like, I can get behind this.
Oh hell.
Yeah.
Yes. We can totally get behind that. Okay. What are you binge watching, if you are?
I finally, just because I was so done with being left out of the conversations that all my friends who don't own fabric stores are having. It's kind of hard, like friends that don't have like shops, or you know, that they like have been socially distancing. It's kind of hard because they're worried about different things, and not that they're unjust in that, but it's like they are talking about like, oh, I watched Ozark, oh, I watched this, oh, I watched that, why haven't you watched this yet? And I'm like, finally I watched Tiger King. That is and it's like while I'm working in the background, so I didn't catch everything, but I know it's messed up.
That's
and
bananas.
I finally, oh my god,
it is a section of America that we don't really rub elbows with ever.
We'll never.
And we'll never, hopefully.
Or maybe
but
you do and you don't know.
Oh gosh.
Oh god.
It's the undercurrent. But yeah, and then I did finish The Outsider, which was super
That was good.
crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's good too.
Yeah, so maybe shouldn't have started with our kids, but we so they really wanted to start watching Parks and Rec because they had seen like clips. We're like, no, I don't think it's appropriate. And then we watched Jojo Rabbit, and we're like, okay, everything's on the table. Just
Jojo Rabbit.
you guys,
good. Yes.
I haven't seen that yet on my.
But it's like the content is like, you know, it is like you're like, are you glorifying Nazi Germany? And they aren't. But so we started watching Parks and Rec, and that's actually been like we watch it as a family. And there's a lot of times where my husband and I look at each other and just are like, oh no. The kids love Ron Swanson and Andy Dwyer, like no tomorrow. But yeah, so that's been kind of fun because it's like we get to watch it and we get to see our kids like, you know, they're like, how many episodes can we watch tonight?
Yes.
Dave's coming back. Is he gonna be upset about Ben? Like it's just really, but then you're like watching Louis C.K. and you're like, ooh.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, so that's been kind of fun to like kind of watch that through their eyes, but also have like comedic relief and not have it be like Moana. But love yeah.
I will tell you, I've actually been rewatching Third Rock from the Sun because it's on Prime.
Oh,
and
it
it's
is?
like, oh my gosh. And it's like, you know, it's a comedy show from the 90s that has like the physical comedy in it still too. And it's just like, we don't really have shows like that anymore. So that's been very joyful for me. And
totally. And I think that's what's nice about Parks and Rec, because they do have that like physical comedy. The other show I did watch a bunch of episodes from, like when I was doing some computer work, was Cheers.
Yes.
And it actually holds up really well. Like in this weird way where you're like, you know, because some of the shows you watch and you're like, oh, that was very problematic. Or like, you know, even Friends is just a very different thing to watch, even though it was like my favorite show back in the day. But Cheers, actually, it totally works. And it was like, who knew? And I was like,
I've been trying to watch, it's funny, me and my husband were like watching some Carol Burnett show. And that was like,
I love Carol Burnett.
And that's way before my time, you know, and it was kind of like, I'm like, oh, this is kind of hilarious. And then the kids are
way
like,
before your time. I feel like I grew up watching that, but I had older parents, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, way before my time. Not super way. Obviously, I'm older than I look.
Just curds and wine.
And act. Just kidding. Love you.
Okay, we thought this would be fun. Okay, there's two things. Okay, so we're gonna do shag, marry, kill.
Oh my God.
Don't worry, it's objects, not people.
Okay. Cookie, cake, or pie? Who would you shag, who would you marry, and who would you kill?
The cake, cookie, and pie.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so I might get like fire for this, but I would kill pie, shag cookie, marry cake.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah. Like my husband is like one of those people that like loves pie, and like there's only like 2 pies I like, and it's like my mom's and the one I make. Like not one of the things. So
I feel like
get behind.
Yeah, I feel like that's a fair answer. I feel like you're either really into pie or you're not. It's just one way or the other.
Yeah, like my husband would be like, "Oh, you know what sounds good? Apple crumble." And I was like, "Really? Like cake sounds good."
And I just appreciate the portability of a cookie.
True. Yeah.
You know, so that's something that, you know, should be thought about as well.
But cookies, you can like make a mistake and have too many. So like cake, like one slice usually is like done, unless like, you know, you're Miranda in Sex and the City where she has to like throw it away.
Oh yeah, that was a great scene. I so could get behind that.
Yeah, I was like, there's some relevance there. Yeah.
Okay, and then our final question is, we're taking something from Hot Ones. I don't know if you watched that on YouTube, but it's an explain. We went back, we dug back deep into your history.
Oh God.
Not in a stalking sort of way.
Explain this Instagram picture.
Okay, which Instagram picture?
Yeah.
Hold on. Did I do it?
Megan's gonna bring it up.
Okay, I got it. Here we go.
Oh my God. Okay, pinch out for a big few. Oh my God, that was in Finland.
Okay.
It was in the Alan Islands, so that's like almost 4 years ago when Jamie Amber from Fancy Tiger and I, and then like Malia, who owns Stephen and Penelope in Amsterdam, and then Jamie Amber's friend Allison, who so tomorrow night Allison overnighted sake to us and like drops them off, and we're gonna have Japanese food and pretend we're in Japan tomorrow night because we were all supposed to be there together. But anyway, so that is when we went to the Alan Islands. So you know, like Lotta Jan's daughter, or Lotta Jan's daughter, that's where like her whole book was like photographed, and that's where she stays. We met her at this Viking festival. It's like method acting. Her brother was the chieftain there.
Oh my God.
And this is like part of their like performance. It was nuts. Like there's like, Amy, since we're Facebook friends, you could probably find the video. It was insane. It was nuts. So yeah, and that portion is like, it is Finland, but it's technically like where all the people from, like a lot of people from Stockholm go to summer. But yeah, so, and then like Lotta took us around, we met her brother, she like interpreted, like these women were hand dyeing yarn. It was probably, you know, like top 5 fiber moment, for sure. Like it was pretty cool. The second, you know, one of the other top 5 would be the sheep blessing that I went to in Portugal, which was also amazing. But yeah. So,
I know, we dug deep, and I was looking through, and I was like, we got to do explain that gram, and then it was like, this is the one.
Yes, totally. So you will appreciate this. So I always make a point to try and like learn the language of where we're going. And we were getting on the ferry to go out there, and the guys basically looked like that, but with clothes on. Like they all have that like shaved head with the like man bun or ponytail. And in Swedish, hey is hello and hejdor is goodbye. And I was the one that was driving, so I was interacting with these guys, and then we said goodbye. Instead of saying hejdor, I said hodor. From Game of Thrones. And like clearly they don't watch, they didn't know what I was saying, but everyone in our car was like, oh my God, Kelly, did you just say hodor? Like, I did. I got like really flustered by like all this, like, I don't know, like they're just like intimidating because they look like that, and then like they are all wearing like reflective gear. So yeah.
That's so hilarious.
So funny. Well, thank you for being on the first episode of Sewtopia and Friends. I don't know how long we're going to do this. I thought it was.
Oh, well, you're so good at like the video stuff. I never turn the sound on IGTV, but I'm always like, Amy's always up there, like doing something cool.
Oh, whatever.
Those clavicle kits. So that clavicle, speaking of which, okay, like I don't get like excited about quilt patterns.
Yeah.
That clavicle, I immediately like cut it out and made. I mean, I still only have the top.
But... Well, it's funny because as a shop, you're like, what can you make fast? Like you can kind of spot it. Like there's certain patterns that I was like, oh, that one's gonna be a fast one. Whip, 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 whip. You know, like
the baby quilt. I mean.
Oh yeah.
I didn't like. Yeah.
Me too. But yeah.
I do have a question for you. Which solids are behind you?
So Kona.
Mm-hmm.
We have Bella over here. We have a very small, I would say 1,000 square foot, like little office / shop.
Yeah.
Well, I can't. Okay.
Keep it small. It's okay.
And I was like, yeah, we're slowly outgrowing this space. I don't know how people do it at home. I cannot do this. I cannot keep this fabric.
Well, my first space was a 9 by 10 foot office. And I just had like a wall of bolts that like my then 3-year-old, I did not allow him to go near because I was like so afraid it was going to fall over. And then like I had my real job desk and then a cutting desk. And yeah, there's a reason. But yeah, no, I don't know how people do it at home. And yeah, but it looks so pretty.
Oh, thanks. It's kind of like it was missing some bolts because they're pulled, and you know, you're like, my shop is a wreck, and I was like, so is mine.
I don't know if you can see, but that's like one of the tables where my kids do put the solids all at the end. But there's a bunch more on, like there's so many more that are just strewn about. Like the UPS and FedEx guys are like, oh, where should we put this box? And I'm like, I don't know. Do you like my new merchandising strategy? Because it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is for me. They're just like, they're always grunting. They're just like, I'm like, I know fabric's heavy, dude. I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
I know. I think that's the thing. It's the most non-passive product I think you can sell, like ever. So there's a lot involved in it, but
you just have to be like, to your delivery guys, just be like, can you just put the fabric over there? And
yeah,
so right. Your fabric guns.
Well, and look at your
my pretties. Yeah. Too. It's I had to aim high also.
Do you use the comic board?
I do. Yeah, comic book boards. It's just, for me, it's the best, like, it's not actually the most economical way to store your fabric. You can store more in a shelf by stacking, but if I pull out the bottom piece of fabric and it skews the whole stack, it drives me crazy. So this is just better for my mental mind. And
totally. Yeah. I tried to do that for a while, and then I just actually, any customer is like, how do you organize things? I was like, here's a stack of 50 comic book boards. Take them from me. But I agree, they're the best. It's kind of like right now, that pile of fabric I just showed you, when I have to pull out like the bottom one, I'm just like, please don't. And then they totally start falling over.
Yeah. It's definitely not for everybody. I think everybody finds their own organizational methods, but that just works for me. And but it has to be half yard cuts or bigger. Like anything smaller than that is a different type of storage.
but it just looks so pretty. It's like, I believe that you are very organized.
She is. She organizes me well.
Well,
I
thank
try.
you though for having me though, ladies. I don't know if I want to listen to this one, but I can't wait to hear the